Hi everyone, you're here sewing with Cody, and today's video we are working on foot number 7 out of the Big Book of Feet. So foot number 7 is a Tailor Tack foot, a really interesting foot. So if we take a closer look at the foot, we see it has this big ridge running down the center of our foot. So what this does is it allows us to choose a stitch, typically we're working with a zigzag typically, that we can adjust. And as it creates those stitches over it, it then creates this big tunnel or this big loop, which is perfect for when you used to use it to create tailor tacks. That's where it gets its name from. But that's not what we're going to be using it for today. So we're going to do something different. We are going to use it for faggoting. So this is really neat because the stitch that we'll be using a couple different stitches and 2 different feet. So, but the main foot is foot number 7. So let's get started. But always remember, while you're watching the video, if you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, check us out on Instagram at Living with Cody and Pete, where I'm always posting new fun things that we're working on. Okay, so we've got our Tailor Tack foot number 7. So put this foot on. And then, so what we're going to be working with, so here are some examples, just a little sample that I created a while back. So it can do some fun fringe, like we see here, just to add some decoration to what we're working with. But what we're going to be focusing on is this technique here. Super fun, super easy. And here's another little sample, which will be, this is exactly what we'll be recreating. So really neat. And if you notice down the center, it's actually separated. So we are working with 2 separate pieces of fabric, as you can see. So what we'll do is we'll take 2 pieces of fabric. Here I've got a black linen, something with a little weight to it. And if you were working with a print, you would want to put right sides together for the first step. So we've got our right sides together. And I found working with the Isocord thread of a color of your choice just works really nicely because we are going to be creating a satin stitch. So we will also want to make sure we're working with the same thread top and bottom because we're going to be seeing all of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch towards the edge of the fabric, not right along the edge, I would say about 1 inch in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our zigzag, which we're going to turn into a satin stitch. So for instance, on this Bernina 590, the number 2 zigzag, the stitch width is at 3.6. Let's bring it to its max at 5.5. And then let's decrease our stitch length. I find bring it down to about 0.4 is perfect. Let's see. So we'll stop at 0.4.5, at 0.45. So all we have to do is start stitching. So I'll bring you closer to see exactly how it creates this really neat stitch. So when we're stitching, you can see it's creating like this tunnel. So when it's finished, these loops that are creating over this ridge are still on that ridge. So what we have to do is we pull it straight out and release it from that ridge. So now you can see there's a really neat tunnel that it created. So it's kind of cool. So what we're going to do, a little tail, so we're going to open it up. So this is our right side, and then we're going to pull it. So then we'll take this, take it to our iron, and we're going to press it open. So we'll kind of just wiggle this loose like this. And then we'll press this flat. So now that we've got our pieces pressed and open, what we're going to do is now we're going to switch our foot. So we're going to take off our number 7 foot, and we're going to switch to a foot that we haven't used in the series yet. It's the number 20. So here we've got number 20C because we're working with a 9mm stitch width machine. So what we're going to do Because remember, we're going for a specific look. So we're going to put our number 20 foot on, and then we're going to go to our triple straight stitch. In this case, our triple straight stitch is stitch number 6. Just going to leave it just like that. So here we've got our open toe foot. So now we're going to feed this big satin stitch, stitch that we created with the number 7 foot, directly down the center. And so what we want to do is we're going to be doing a triple straight stitch, and we want to get that triple straight stitch directly down in the center where the gap is between our two fabrics. So let's see what we can do. And I find pulling the fabrics apart helps keep them flatter and give us a nice wider stitch. So here what we did gave us this kind of bow tie look. It's really neat. So now let's take it a step further. I'm all about taking our stuff to the next level. So now what we're going to do, we're going to stick with our number 20 C foot, and we are going to select a stitch. It's going to be stitch 601. Type it in. It's going to be this guy. Really neat. So let's go back to our fabric and give it a stitch. So what we're going to do with an open toe number 20 is we're going to ride this stitch we created here right along the inside. So this new stitch 601 is going to stitch right along the edge, and it's going to look like it's connected. So here we have this really neat stitch. And we'll do the same thing down the other side. So here we have this really neat decorative look. So it's almost like we create like our own ribbon or our own decorative border pieces or whatever. So you can really do some fun things with this. And this is also where the 9mm stitch width machines really shine. It's because you can create these much larger stitches and really have a lot of fun with them. So you can really see, I mean, there's different stitches that we selected here, but from a slight distance, it just looks like one big, really cool stitch. So a 5.5mm machine is fully capable of doing this using the same feet, except you wouldn't be using the number 20C, you'd be using just a regular number 20. And for your dual feed machines, you can definitely use the number 20D to create these decorative stitches along the outside of what we create with foot number 7. But the bigger the machine, stitch width capability, the bigger these will look and the more stunning they become. But it's really neat that the things that you can create with these stitches, and it was all using foot number 7, our Tailor Tack foot, and then foot number 20, the one that's on the machine. So we haven't gotten to foot number 20, so we're not going to talk about it too much, but that's the foot you would want to use in conjunction with foot number 7 to create these really neat stitches. Now, the Tailor Tack foot is fully capable of doing some other wonderful features, including fringe and, of course, Tailor Tacks. All those with all the instructions and pictures are all in the Big Book of Feet, which is a wonderful, wonderful asset to your Bernina machines. Also going along with the Big Book of Serging, the Big Book of Embroidery, and soon to be coming the Big Book of Quilting. And we'll try and cover a lot of those in other videos, especially when those books become, like with the Big Book of Quilting becomes available. All right, well, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Share it with your friends, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next installment of the feet from the Big Book of Feet. As always, happy sewing.